A 3-year-old boy falls into a fireplace filled with burning coals and boiling oil. His hands are horribly damaged. One of them never heals properly. Most people would assume his future was over before it even began. Instead, that same child grew up to become one of the greatest engravers in European history. His prints amazed collectors across Europe. His technical skill seemed almost impossible, and centuries later, artists still study his work. So how did a man with a permanently damaged hand create some of the most extraordinary engravings ever made? This is the story of Hendrick Goltzius. Real quick before we start, if you enjoy stories about art, masterpieces, and the wild lives behind them, definitely drop a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and lets us keep making these videos for you. Hendrick Goltzius was one of the most famous engravers of the late 16th and early 17th centuries. Today, he's remembered for two things: his astonishing technical ability and a life story that feels almost unbelievable. He was born in the Netherlands near Venlo, in the small village of Bracht, now part of the municipality of Bluggen. From the very beginning, Hendrick was known as an energetic and restless child. Maybe a little too energetic. According to accounts from his early life, people had to pull him out of the water more than once after various accidents and adventures. Then came the moment that changed everything. When Hendrick was only 3 years old, he fell directly into a fireplace. Not just onto hot coals, but also into a pan filled with boiling oil. The burns were devastating. Both of his hands were badly injured, but the right hand suffered the most severe damage. His mother desperately tried to save him. She followed every piece of advice she could find. Unfortunately, one of those decisions may have made things worse. A neighbor convinced her to remove the splints that were supposed to keep the bones and tendons in place while they healed. Whether through bad luck or misunderstanding, the result was permanent. The hand healed incorrectly. For the rest of his life, Hendrick would live with a serious disability. And here's the remarkable part. He refused to see himself as broken. Years later, he even created studies of his own damaged hand, almost as if he were saying, if this is part of me, then it deserves to become art too. His artistic education began under the guidance of his father. He learned stained glass design, he learned engraving, and very quickly it became obvious that he possessed extraordinary talent. Eventually, he settled in Haarlem and founded his own engraving workshop and school. That was a major achievement. At a time when many artists depended entirely on wealthy patrons, Goltzius managed to build something that gave him real independence. Part of that freedom came through marriage. At just 21 years old, he married a wealthy widow. Her dowry provided financial security and opened opportunities that would have been difficult to reach otherwise. But the story didn't end there. Not long afterward, Goltzius left and began traveling. He wanted to see more, learn more, meet artists, study different styles. Like many great artists, he understood that growth often begins when you leave familiar surroundings behind. Today, more than 300 of his engravings survive, and the range is astonishing. Mythological scenes, biblical stories, portraits, landscapes, complex allegories, each one demonstrating an incredible level of control. One of his technical innovations involved a method sometimes described as the dot and diamond technique. By placing tiny dots inside diamond-shaped spaces created by intersecting engraved lines, he could produce richer tonal effects and more subtle transitions between light and shadow. For viewers today, that might sound like a small detail. For engravers of the 16th century, it was revolutionary. His ability to create depth, texture, and atmosphere pushed engraving to entirely new levels. Because of both his technical brilliance and his fascination with human nature, Goltzius is often compared to masters like Albrecht Dürer and even Francisco Goya. Like them, he explored ambition, temptation, heroism, suffering, and the darker sides of the human experience. But he did so through the visual language of the Renaissance and the early Baroque period. And that visual language could be spectacular. His heroes often appear with exaggerated muscles, dramatic poses, and bodies that seem almost superhuman. His women embody idealized beauty. And then there are the dragons. Lots of dragons. One of the stories that inspired him came from the ancient Greek myth of Cadmus. According to the legend, Cadmus was instructed by the Oracle of Delphi to follow a cow and establish a city wherever it finally stopped to rest. That place eventually became Thebes. When Cadmus sent his companions to fetch water, they encountered a dragon guarding a sacred spring. The dragon killed them. Cadmus then fought and killed the beast. Following divine instructions, he planted the dragon's teeth into the ground. And something extraordinary happened. Armed warriors sprang from the earth itself. Only 5 survived. According to the myth, those 5 became the ancestors of the Thebans. For an artist like Goltzius, this story had everything: drama, violence, mythology, heroism, monsters, and, of course, an opportunity to demonstrate his incredible skill at depicting anatomy and movement. As his reputation grew, his prints spread throughout Europe. Collectors wanted them. Artists studied them. His influence expanded far beyond the Netherlands. And that's what makes his story so remarkable. A child who was told, directly or indirectly, that he would never be whole again, transformed himself into one of the greatest engravers of his era, not despite his damaged hand, but with it. Hendrick Goltzius died in Haarlem in 1616 at the age of 58. He left behind more than beautiful engravings. He left a school, a tradition, technical innovations, and a body of work that still inspires artists more than 400 years later. His life is a reminder that limitations do not always define a person's future. Sometimes they become the very thing that pushes greatness into existence. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to visit alibrio.co, where you can discover contemporary artists, unique handmade creations, and talented independent creators from around the world. Your support helps artists continue creating and sharing their work. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.